Good evening, everyone. It's about 11 p.m. tonight, and I'm going to be reviewing my very first book for you guys. And it's a New York Times bestseller, The Long Hard Road Out of Hell by Marilyn Manson. Ghostwritten by Neil Strauss. So, a ghostwriter is basically Marilyn Manson narrated his life story to him out loud, and he wrote it down word for word. So that's what a ghostwriter is. And just to give you an idea of what this book is like, I'm just going to read a brief excerpt from it, and then I'll give you a brief review on the book. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't have that much time on my camera, so... and this is from page 213, and this is what it says. I'm just going to read a paragraph. I've thought about being the Antichrist ever since the word was first taught to me at Christian school. In the Bible, the word Antichrist is only used as a description of people who don't believe in the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. He is not described as one satanic entity, as the beast of Revelation, which so many people believe, but as a person, any person, who deviates from the Christian orthodoxy. But through years of myth-making and fear-sowing, Christianity metamorphosized Antichrist into a single Antichrist, an apocalyptic villain and Christian boogeyman, used to scare people much as Santa Claus is used to regulate children's behavior. After years of studying the concept, I began to realize the Antichrist is a character, a metaphor who exists in nearly all religions under different names. Maybe there is some truth to it, a need for such a person, but from another perspective. This person could not be seen as a villain, but a final hero to save people from their own ignorance. The apocalypse doesn't have to be fire and brimstone. It could happen on a personal level. If you believe you're the center of your own universe, and you want to see that universe destroyed, it only takes one bullet. So that gives you an idea of how the book is written. It's an amazing, amazing biography. The best I've ever read on an artist, like a rock and roll artist. It starts with Marilyn Manson as a child, going into his grandfather's basement and discovering his pornography collection. It takes you all through his childhood, preschool, high school, and he became an artist at a very young age. His parents tried to bring him up into the Christian faith, but they were always telling him horrible stories about the apocalypse and the end of the world, and it really scared him. And it didn't take him long before he started to kind of turn away from that religion, and he started to think for himself, and he started to explore the darker side of humanity. And, he fell in with a lot of people that were into Satanism and into drugs, alcohol, and all these other kind of forbidden things. So it started at a very young age for him, and the book really graphically and vividly describes his transformation into an artist. It's no holds barred. There's a lot of things in this book that some people might find rather shocking. Like, he really lives the lifestyle of a rock and roll artist. It's not just something that, he does on television. It's not just something that, he puts on makeup and becomes Marilyn Manson. He's like this all the time. And this book gets you deep inside his head. He's a very poetic man, in many ways very beautiful in the way he expresses himself, but he's also very morbid, I suppose you could say. I wouldn't even think of it that way, though. It's more that he's just, there's no boundaries with him. He's a total performance artist, and there's literally no limit he won't go to, And especially in the beginning. Everything you can imagine in a show is nudity, all kinds of symbolism about religion and murder and just everything imaginable. His shows are much more tamed down now, I would say, compared to the way they were in this book, especially his first few shows. It talks about how he got together with the band, all the different girls he was with. There's a really funny section in the middle where he's like, this is my philosophy on homosexuality, and he has these lists of like 39 different things, and it's really funny. Some, like, to give you an example, if you're a male model, if you get choked up listening to Boys Don't Cry by The Cure, if you're a clothing designer, And also the book has some poems that he did as well, and also some short stories. One of which is about kind of S&M and bondage, and the other one is about a boy who kills his own sister, and it's a story of that. So he's not an artist for everyone, you know. He definitely looks at things from a darker perspective. He reflects the things that people fear through his art. But he's an amazingly profound artist, and I found this book to be incredibly moving and detailed, very intense. There are moments that are really funny in the book, but there's also moments that made me cry. Like near the end of the book, as he's writing Antichrist Superstar, which became his biggest selling album ever, and his best album to this day, I think. While he was writing that album, he, in the making that album, he had a drug overdose. His drug use kept escalating. He became very disconnected from reality, from humanity, and he reached a very dark place in his life where he just felt like the world wasn't worth saving anymore. And during those moments, there's especially a moment that's really intense where he's recording, Minute of Decay, and he's singing, "I'm on my way down now, I'd like to take you with me," in the recording studio, and he breaks down and starts crying into this like mound of cocaine that's on the table in front of him. It's incredibly moving, and it made me cry reading that part. But it's such an intimate book. Like he doesn't hold back sharing everything with his fans, everything he went through, including very intimate things, sexual things, all the crazy parties he went to, and there were many, all the different drugs he did, all the drunken escapades, all the, at one point he smokes a dead man's bones from a grave. Just so many crazy things happen in this that it's beyond description. But if you're a fan of Marilyn Manson and you want to know about his life and why he is the way he is now, read this. It gets you inside his head better than anything I've ever read or seen. It's an amazing book. And he's both a poet and kind of a filthy saint at the same time. That's the only way I could describe him. I'm trying to find an illustration here to show you guys, just to give you an idea of how his mind works. Beware if you're sensitive, viewer. But here's an illustration. The God of Fuck. Yeah. So, and this is how he came up with his name. And I'll just read you this one more excerpt, and then I'm going to end this review pretty soon because my camera is running low on time here. Marilyn Manson was the perfect story protagonist for a frustrated writer such as myself. He was a character because of his contempt for the world around him, and more so himself, does everything he can to trick people into liking him. And once he wins his confidence, he uses it to destroy them. And that's in a metaphorical sense. Like, he's not actually destroying people with his music, right? But he represents, Marilyn is Marilyn Monroe, who is the most beautiful woman in America. And of course, Manson was Charles Manson, who is kind of the most notorious criminal, murderer in America. Although he didn't actually murder anyone, he had all his cronies do it for him. But, as an artist, he represents both sides of the American dream, the beauty of it, but also the horror. So, it's a great book. I've read it several times. I know it pretty much by heart at this point. If you're a Marilyn Manson fan, read it. If you're not a Marilyn Manson fan, read it anyway, because it's really good. But just, beware if you're a sensitive person, you might not want to read it, I guess. But if you keep an open mind, it's a very enjoyable book about one of the most complicated and incredible artists, I think, of all time. I'm a huge Marilyn Manson fan. Have been since I was 15, and will be forever. So, he saved me from the hypocrisy of religion. He helped me to believe in myself. I was deeply depressed and confused, and when I was a teenager and suicidal. And he really pulled me out of that. He was someone I could relate to, all these doubts I had about my faith, and then ultimately in the end coming to realize that the only person I have to believe in is myself, you know, and existence. I don't have to conform to anyone. I don't have to conform to a faith. I don't have to conform to a religion, and that there's nothing wrong with being liberated and free on this planet. So that's my review on The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, Marilyn Manson. Fantastic book that I think will stand the test of time as one of the greatest biographies ever written. So there's my review, y'all. Just in time for Halloween. Have a good night and enjoy. Bye-bye.